offender.
That's right.
Your offense is forcible rape. You were sentenced on 2/16/2005. Your sentence is 40 years at hard labor, all but 20 years suspended. And upon release, you'll have a 5-year supervised probation period. Your parole date is 8/8/2021. You're not eligible for good time. And your full-term date is August 6, 2024. Let me see if you have an adjusted good time date. You're not eligible for good time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is all the information correct?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Rochette, I want to interrupt. Just want to let you know I'm in the room. This is Warden Governor. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Warden Goodwin. And we're in the process of starting the interview right now.
Good to see you. I got here right on time.
Good. Mr. Jones, this case has been assigned to you.
Good morning, Mr. Judice.
Good morning.
I'm Victor Jones with the Parole Board. I'll ask you a few questions. Where were you? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town called Laurelville, Louisiana.
Laurelville. Okay. You live both with your both parents?
My father's deceased. He passed away in
Father's deceased?
1985. Yes, sir.
How old were you when?
I was 9 years old.
9 years old. I'm sorry to hear that. What school did you go to?
Laurelville High School.
You graduated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any school after? Anything after? Any tech?
No, nothing. Just police academy. That was it.
Okay. Any problems? Any arrests while juvenile?
No, sir.
Drug use?
Never.
Never, no drug use. Alcohol?
Occasionally, yes.
Would you consider yourself alcoholic?
Oh, no, sir. No,
Okay.
sir. There's many times I went without drinking for years. That just wasn't a big thing with me.
Yes, sir. Tell me a little bit about your work history. Where did you first? So you graduated from high school. Did you immediately go to the workforce?
Yes, sir. I worked for an oil field company for a while. I moved to Houston. My work experience is across the board. I've done a lot of things. I worked for an airport back home in New Iberia. I was a crash and rescue fireman, police officer, of course. I went in and out of police work from the sheriff's office to city police in New Iberia, St. Martinville, and Iberia Parish.
So what law enforcement agency did you work for?
St. Martinville City Police, Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office, and New Iberia City Police.
Okay. Okay. What any prior arrest other? I see
Nope.
your first felon offender, first time ever been arrested.
First time.
Okay. And how old were you when this crime was committed?
28.
28?
28, yes, sir.
28 years of age. And who were you working for at that time?
I was working for a friend of mine, Tim's AC and Refrigeration. I was part-time with St. Martinville Police Department at the time.
You was working part-time with the St. Martin Police
Yes,
Department?
sir.
Okay. I'm sure you, this is probably, tell me a little bit what happened that night. What was going on that night? Tell us a little bit about this situation.
Well, my relationship with her was a tumultuous relationship. And we
You were
break
in a
up.
relationship with this young lady?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At the present time?
At the present time, yes, sir.
Okay.
And well, that afternoon she called me and said we were breaking up so she could go out with some friends. But that happened numerous times. And it would always end in a phone call to come home at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I lived at her house because we were redoing the floors in my home. So that night I ended up going out with a friend of mine. We went to shoot pool, met up with some friends of mine, and we went back to his apartment. His apartment, he has one key to the apartment, you have to lock the door from the outside with that key. He said, look, you're gonna have to either get up in the morning or wait till I get back from work. And I said, well, look, I'm just gonna go. She'll probably be calling me in a little while anyway. So I started heading that way. But when I got to the house, there was a vehicle in the driveway that I didn't recognize. So I ended up calling my dispatcher and had her run the license plate just to make sure who this was. Well, it just came back as a truck for an oil field company. Well, that got me kind of worried about what was happening. So I started going around the house. There was a light on in our bedroom. And when I looked in, I could see a man on top of her, naked, having sex. And I went to the door, put the key in the door. She locked our deadbolt, obviously. Well, we never used that deadbolt because we don't keep a key to unlock it. So I broke the door in, ran in. He jumped off of her, came at me. The entire time I'm telling him to stay back because my main thing is I'm trying to figure out what's happening. When he came at me, I pushed him back first. He came at me again, I hit him. He came at me a third time, and that's when the fight ensued. And I pretty much just kind of blacked out till she said she was bleeding. And she was on the bed when this started to my left. And when she said she was bleeding, she was on the floor to the right of me. And as I believe in some deposition, she said that she tried to break us up from fighting. And it's like I never even saw her there. So that's pretty much in a whole what happened. I mean, he ended up leaving after, some arguments and more fighting, but that's the main result.
You're charged with forcible rape.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about the first interaction of, after that, he left, we argued a while. We went in the living room, destroyed the bedroom. I was so angry, I broke so many things in the bedroom. And we sat on the living room floor for a while, talking, trying to figure out what's happening. Eventually, at some point, we were hugging, started kissing, we had sex. After that, I started trying to clean up the house, fix the door for one. I broke the door frame. I fixed that. I picked up all the junk that I had destroyed, put it in my truck. I stayed there the entire day. Her sister-in-law came over, talked to us. She went outside, talked to her sister-in-law, came back in. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 3 times this happened. Her sister-in-law left, and she ended up, I fixed something to eat. She ate, she laid on the couch. And that night, I ended up leaving at 9 o'clock that night. Well, when I left, I forgot something. I was pulling out, but when I walked back in the house, she was looking at her ring on her hand, on her finger, an engagement ring I had gotten her. And I asked her what she was doing. And she said, just thinking about how I messed this up. Well, we hugged one more time. When I was leaving, she said, go to my brother's house, who lived behind me. And she said, I'm gonna call you in about 30 minutes. And she lives 30 miles from where I live. And to make sure you made it home all right. When I got there, I talked to my brother and she never called. And after that, I went to bed, got up the next morning, and that's when I got a call from a friend of mine saying the sheriff's office wanted to talk to me. Now, I did want to call the sheriff's office to make that clear before I even left. She said, don't worry about it. She was in the middle of a custody battle with her daughter and her ex-husband. She didn't want any of that coming out. And I said, are you sure? She said, I'm sure. Just don't worry about it. Because she was marked up. She was beat up pretty bad. And, at this time, Lord, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I mean, I never acted like that before. So, after the adrenaline calmed down, I'm thinking, what in the world did I just do? So I was trying to make sure, look, if the police are going to be called, let's do it now. I don't want to make it seem like I tried to leave this place. And that was pretty much the end. I ended up getting arrested and told the charges that I was charged with.
Okay. What parish were you living in at that time?
Iberia. Well, I was staying at her house, but I mean, my residence is in Iberia Parish.
Which is in, your residence was in Iberia, but she was living in Vermilion Parish.
Million, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so now you're saying that this sexual encounter was consensual?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I understand under the circumstances, it wouldn't seem that way, but it was. I mean, I even have depositions from an ex-boyfriend that says that's how his relationship was. They would fight and have sex constantly. If I could do it all over again, Lord knows I would have walked away from that a long time ago. But I was so invested. I mean, I even heard him, you know.
How long had you known, I think Angelina is her name?
Yes.
How long had you known her?
Oh God, I guess at that time, 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I met her, well, I kind of met her at a bar one night. Called her, a friend kind of got her number for me. I called her, didn't get any response. I waited a year before I ever called her back. When I called her back, we started talking on the phone, got to know each other. We didn't even meet in person for a while. And the relationship, the way that started, as we talking, feelings were getting more deeply, and we found out, you know, like my dad was a pilot. She said her dad was a crop duster pilot. I grew up sugarcane farming. He was a farmer, a rice farmer. And then eventually, one night she said she loved me. And it kind of caught me off guard, but I told her too, because I felt like we had a connection, even though we had never even physically touched. And she called me to go to her house one night. I went to her house. She met me at the door, hugged me, walked me to the bedroom, and got undressed. And I told her right there, I said, if this is all you want, then I don't want to do this. And her response was, baby, I love you. She said, yes, this is what I want. And I said, are you sure? And I should have known right there. You know, I just wanted I thought I wanted a family. I thought I wanted, you know, a life of being married, and I thought I just found the dream person.
So how long do you think you were in that relationship with her? How long prior to the incident?
Probably 2.5 years, I would guess.
2.5 years, y'all had been.
Yeah, I think so, somewhere around there.
Had there been any fallouts or separations or anything during the time?
Yes, sir, many times. That's not something I'm proud to admit, but yes, it was constant arguing and fighting. And
was there police reports there involved? Yeah. A lot of police reports.
I called the sheriff's office one day. I was trying to move out of the house, and things had got heated. So I called the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office to say, look, I need an officer over here just to make sure things go calmly, because she was arguing with me pretty heavily. So that was the only report then that was ever filed to my knowledge. And I'm the one that filed.
Okay. Anjanette, how old was Anjanette? How old was she?
31. She was 31. I was 28.
Okay. And you said something about she having a daughter?
Yes, sir. She had a 10-year-old daughter, Madison.
Okay. This is not your daughter?
No, sir. No.
Okay. You have any kids?
No, sir.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Wise?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well, you know, naturally, your account doesn't, you know, exactly line up with the police report, but that's neither here nor there. But tell me this, why were you changing police departments where you work? What was going on?
Oh, I get bored. It's not professional, I know, but I just get bored. I never really had it in mind to make it a career. It was more the excitement. And again, I've done so many things in my life as an employee of places. I'm not proud of it, but I just got bored and would change jobs and go different places.
So if you are successful today, I see where you're going to live with your mother. How would you support yourself? What career choice would you go for?
Well, the first place, I mean, my cousins that have a sugarcane farm, it's about 2 miles down the road, which I think would be the most optimal. I mean, they're a great support system. You know, they are eager to get me back. I have thankfully, I mean, I have a friend, Cody, who wants to start a business just to give me something to do. I have a friend in Houma that he would want me to go there to work. But I mean, I think the best thing for me would be to live with my mom, take care of her, take the burden off of her because she's not doing well health-wise. We fear that she may have Alzheimer's coming on, and it's you know, I think that would be my best option is to live there and to take care of the house and just work 2 miles from home. That way, it's not a whole lot of traveling.
Okay. Okay.
I
And
get-
you just go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I get this opportunity. I'm not going to live like I did before. I can promise you. It's going to be settled down, and that's it.
Okay. And your disciplinary record is really good. Call out for the record how long you served on this 20-year sentence.
It's, I think, 16 years and 5 years.
16 years and 5 weeks on a 20-year sentence. And you've had one write-up, and that was a lower court write-up. So you've
Yeah.
done well. You've done well in that regard. Now, call out for some of the programs you've had the opportunity to take.
Well,
Let's call out from your head, from your memory. The ones that meant the most to you. That's the ones that meant the most.
sex offender treatment program, for one, the most important to me was phase 1 through 4. I completed. I was a facilitator in that as well.
Okay.
Anger management, advanced stress management. Oh Lord, thinking for a change, victims awareness.
Okay, so tell me about 3 things real quick you know now you didn't know before.
Well, I've learned how to gauge my anger for sure. I mean,
Okay.
I wasn't going to say this, but I mean, apparently it works because I got punched in the face a few years ago and I didn't retaliate. And the person getting locked up and I didn't. So I mean, it's tough for that kind of stuff to happen in prison, especially. But I did do that, and just learn the importance of other people, not thinking about myself and
Okay.
thinking about how my actions hurts a lot of people. You know what I did doing this? I mean, I've destroyed a lot of lives. I've hurt a lot of people, my family included. Everybody suffers when you come to prison. It's not just me. It's not just the victims. I mean, and I'm sorry for the victims. If I could look them in the eyes, I pray for them every day. I know it's easy to say sorry, but I mean, God, if I could change it, I would.
Mhm.
That was
So your 2 things you've learned and think about other people, you gauge your anger or anything else? What are the top 3 things you learned
well,
that you didn't know before?
that I didn't know before. Let's see. You put me on the spot.
Well, we spend a lot of money on those programs now. We want a return on those programs.
Well, I mean, let's see. Trying to recall them all on the top of my head. Let's see. We did things like journaling. I took that, which is not on my list, but I did take that, learning to document things as you go along. Learning cycles of how to gauge your response to things, whether you're, from what anger level you were at before to now what you do with what you've learned. And
Okay. And I do want to inform you, as a part of this process, we do reach out to the law enforcement community where you were convicted to get their opinion about early release.
Okay.
And there has been some opposition expressed, and nothing you can do about it, but I just wanted to inform you that's information that we have to consider in reaching our decision.
okay,
That's all I had, Chairman. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Judice, I have some concern also about you being with 3 or 4 different police departments. You
Okay.
said you changed agencies because you got bored.
Well, mainly the agencies.
Usually, a person becomes a law enforcement officer to make a living and because he wants to serve the community. Why were you a law enforcement officer?
Well, that was, you said it just now, with make a living. It's hard to make a living as a police officer. It really is. The money's just not there. So when I leave, I usually leave to go somewhere else to make money. Then I'd end up going back because I do love doing that job, but just the money wasn't there for the lifestyle that I live. You know, I flew airplanes, I've raced dirt bikes, I've done so many things that just couldn't support my my activities.
Okay, Mr. Judice, why should this panel vote to release you early? Because the judge gave you a pretty good deal. He sentenced you to 40 years, then suspended 50% of that sentence. So
Yeah.
basically, from the very beginning, probably because you're a law enforcement officer, you got a good deal from the beginning. Why should we release you early when you have only 3 years left on your sentence?
Well, I mean, do I deserve to be released early? Probably not. You know, considering everything that's happened and the lies that I've heard, probably not. But my actions here and showing who the real me is, you know, this is me. You know, my record shows how I've been. I volunteered here for the COVID unit to work with the people that are sick. You know, it's just, I don't like sitting in prison and feeling like I'm not contributing. You know, I mean, Warden Goodman does a great thing with this place. He really does. But for people like me, I like to work. I like to do things. And it's hard to sit here and to just feel like you can't provide. And that's my biggest thing. I want to just be there for my family and to.
Okay. Now, you've been in protective custody since 2005. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Warden Goodwin, would you like to make any remarks?
Yes, sir, Mr. Roche. Good morning. I've known Lieutenant Judice since he got here in 2005, and his record speaks very clearly. He's been a model prisoner. He participated in programming. He's had that one low court write-up in 2005. He's very cooperative with staff. He's very rule-bound. He follows the rules without any argument or debate. He's, you know, he participated in sex offender therapy. He does has worked as a facilitator in that area as well. And, you know, I noticed the nature of the crimes he was originally charged with, and I note that you indicate he got an excellent break from his from the sentence he received, because he was originally charged with charges that would have received a life sentence. But he's done well in prison, and he's had a good attitude the entire time he's been here. I've never seen that side of offender Judice that he displayed prior to coming to prison. That's about all I can say about Mr. Roche. He's done a lot of things. He's been here.
Thank you, Warden Goodwin.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to let Mr. Shane Judice, would you please unmute your mic? This is the brother of the offender. Would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I'm his brother, and we would love to see him get released, because I know he's sorry for what he did, and I know he wishes he could change everything, but we feel he also served a good portion of his time, and we have no, I mean, we love him and would love him home, and we know we don't know anybody that doesn't like him. I'm sure, except for the victim and the family. But we feel no threat by letting him being released early.
Thank you, Mr. Judice. Thank you so much. Would you please mute your mic? At this time, Mr. Judice, would you like to make a brief statement to close the hearing?
Sure. I thank you all for this opportunity to be here and to go over everything that I've been through the last 16 years here. I mean, it's been eye-opening. I know what I've done has, like I said, has affected so many lives, and I'm truly sorry about that. But I really would appreciate a chance to to prove that, I mean, if need be, I mean, I live 30 miles away. If you need me to move somewhere else, I'm willing to do that as well. I'm willing to do whatever makes anyone comfortable in this situation. Like I said, I would go to my mom's house. That's the most optimal thing. But I can move further east. I got people in New Orleans that want me to work for them. Again, I got a friend in Houma that wants me to work with him. I can go anywhere to make everybody at ease with this decision. If I could change it, I would. There's no one knows that more than I do. I mean, I live with this every night, thinking about everything. I hope that my record here shed some light on the person that I really am. I made a mistake, and I vow to never make that mistake again. I will never act that way. It was a tough lesson learned, but trust me, I've learned my lesson. And I made a huge mistake. You know, I was fighting for what I thought was mine, and it's truly, I made a horrible mistake in that. So I can assure you, you make this decision, you will never hear my name again. And I'm sure you hear that a lot from other people. But I mean, like I said, my record has proven that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to cooperate and to make everybody happy in this situation.
Thank you, Mr. Judice.
Thank you.
Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones?
Yes. Mr. Judice,
Yes, sir.
I was in law enforcement 43 years. And I can only imagine what effect this particular crime, the nature of the crime, what effect it did and what it had for the law enforcement in that area. That crime was not just kept in Vermilion Parish, St. Martin Parish. It sheds light on law enforcement as a whole.
Yes, sir.
And I really want to commend you for, I'm sure you were put in a bad position on that night. You reacted terribly.
Yes, sir.
But I want to commend you for your behavior and whatever since you've been incarcerated. You've taken advantage of a lot of the programs. You've done what you needed to do. Made what I always call you made the best of a bad situation.
Yes, sir.
And you've done that. And I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
You got a parole eligibility today coming up in August of next year.
Yes, sir.
My vote today will be to deny based upon that, and wish you good luck. Keep up the good work. Keep doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wise?
Sir, this is your first parole hearing, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. I'm just, you do have but due to the law enforcement opposition and mainly because of law enforcement opposition, my vote is denied today too. Again, I encourage you to write back as soon as you're eligible for a rehearing and just try to take as many more programs as you can. But my vote is to deny today.
Mr. Judice? My vote is going to be a little different based upon you completing the sex offender treatment, based upon other good programs, based on positive remarks from Warden Goodwin. I'm going to vote to grant your request.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You have received 2 votes to deny your request for early release and 1 vote to grant your request. Your request for early release has been denied. You have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Have we all lost our mind again? Could we take a step back and remember that he is in prison for sexual assault and he just made a statement that went unchallenged, that it was consensual? What? Now, I have information. We're going to touch on it just for a little bit. But first, I think what I would like to do is fast forward a year later to his next hearing because we have it. And we actually already played it. We played it about 6 months ago. It has something like 20,000 views. So it's possible that you've seen it already. But with the additional context of seeing this initial hearing, I know for me it was especially interesting to hear how the changes that he made, etc., etc. But he was initially this is what he was initially charged with before we jump into that second hearing. He was initially charged with attempted second-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated, and I mean, these are multiple life sentences over and over and over again. That's what he was charged with. The story he gave the story he gave was just insane. "Oh, we were getting back together, she told me to come over. I went there was a truck, I wasn't sure. The guy was on top of her. I wanted to be like the hero, and then I started fighting. He pushed me, I pushed him, and blacked out. I woke up, and she was there, and then we made love." And, like, the way of his story, also how we met at a bar, and I called her, and I didn't call her for another year, and then when I saw her for the first time, we had never touched at that point, and she opened the door, and she took me to her room, butt naked, and I said, "Are you sure you wanna do this?" And she said, "Yeah," and I said, "Are you sure you wanna do this?" And I should have known. I mean, what? This is your parole hearing. You're look what you're locked up for, you sicko. And, all those red flags of moving police department to police department to police department. Mr. O'Shea, granting, it might have been just to be nice to give the guy some hope, but still, I'm shocked by it. The whole thing was just rot. The judge giving half the sentence probated. He was sentenced to 20 years and 15 years of it probation.
Read the information, because you've been through this before, but read the information into the record. Okay, your name is Jude C. Jice. Your DOC number is 493087. You were sentenced on February 16th of 2005 on forcible rape. You were sentenced to 20 years. Your parole eligibility date is August 8th of 2021. You do not earn good time, and your full term date is August 6th of 2024. Does that sound about right, sir?
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Parole, he does want to correct you on how to pronounce his last name, though. He's
Okay, tell me, because I
Judice. He's too timid to interrupt you, but he wants to give you the correct pronunciation.
It's Judy.
Oh, go ahead. Say it again.
And however you like.
No, tell him what you said.
It's Judice.
Judice. Okay, Judice.
Judice.
Okay. I have a better chance with Jude, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Okay, Mr. Judice, how old are you?
I'm 47 as of yesterday.
Okay, happy birthday.
Thank you.
How many years have you served on this 20-year portion of your sentence?
I'm 3 months shy of 19.
3 months shy. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you complete this sentence, you're going to be on 5-year supervised probation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you'll be backing another 20 years if you were to violate that probation.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Judice, I read your arrest report, but tell me what was going through your mind? What happened that night?
Oh, Lord. Well, it was a lot of the same in that relationship, a lot of arguing. It was very toxic. A lot of love at sometimes, a lot of toxicity at others. And the only thing that was different on this night was she would call me sometimes and say we were through. She'd go out to a nightclub with 2 of her friends. Well, this night I said, you know, I'll go out too, and not with her, just with a friend of mine. And by the time him and I came home to his apartment, he told me, he said, look, he said, now you got to leave when I go to work in the morning, because his apartment you had to lock from the outside with a key. And I said, man, I'm not getting up that early. I said, look, I'm just going to go home because she'll probably be calling me anyway. He was familiar with how how our relationship was. And so as I went home, I was living at her house. We were redoing the floors at my home. And I'd been staying there for quite some time. And as I got there, there was a white pickup truck there, Ford extended cab, unfamiliar to me. Well, it was the only vehicle there. There was, all the lights were off except a light in the bedroom. Well, I called my dispatcher, and I wasn't working, but I called my dispatcher and asked her to run the license plate just to see who this was. And it came back as a truck for an oil field company, and that was it. So I tell her, I said, well, let me get out and see what's going on. And right before we hung up, I told her, I said, oh God, I hope she's not cheating on me. And she said, oh, Jude, please be careful and call me as soon as you find something out. So I got out, I went to the door. It was locked. I walked, no, take that back. I walked to the window first that had the light on, looked in. That's when I saw her. I could see through the window. We had sheer drapes on the windows. I saw her in that window with a guy on top of her. I went to the door, tried to unlock it. The deadbolt was locked. We never locked the deadbolt. You have to use a key for that deadbolt. So I backed up, broke the door in, ran in. When I went through the bedroom door, the guy jumps off of her on the opposite side of the bed from me. He starts coming around. Now, even in the police report, and she called my phone and it answered in my pocket. They can hear me telling the guy to stay back. I said, stay back a number of times. He came at me. I pushed him back by the throat. He came at me again. I hit him. He fell back and caught the bedpost. And after he came after me the third time, I kind of blacked out at that point and just started fighting. And I came to when she said, Jude, I'm bleeding. Now, she was on the bed when all this started to my left. When I came to from what she said, she was on the right side on the floor with blood in her hair. And we argued back and forth. I was trying to find out who he was. We fight a little bit, fight, and he ended up leaving at, I'm not exactly sure of the time frame, it was so long ago, but he ended up leaving. I came back to she was in the bedroom. I came back to the bedroom after he left. We argued more and more. I mean, it was just chaotic for a while. At some point, we went into the living room and we were talking there. She's still undressed at this time. I'm crying on the floor. She kneels down in front of me, and again, this is a long time ago. I'm trying to remember exactly how this went on. At some point, we started kissing. Then we started having sex. I know that probably sounds sick, but that's how this relationship was. And it was one of those things where I think I was trying to salvage something that I knew was over inevitably. And it just that didn't last long. That went on for maybe, I don't know. It was relatively quick. At that point, I got up. She got up and went to the bathroom, I think. I started picking up because I broke the door in. So I started picking that up, picking up glass. There was glass all over from French doors that were broken in the house. Broken armoire to pieces. I mean, So we were cleaning, I was cleaning. And this, I guess we'd argue back and forth. This went on probably from, I would say 2:30 or 3 in the morning till, I stayed there till 9 o'clock the next night. From just talking, sleeping, after I cleaned up the place and repaired the door, and we talked about calling the police because she got beat up pretty bad. And I believe in a deposition, she said she got the most of the beating from jumping between me and the guy. And I had no idea she was in between us. I found out later on they'd been together for 10 years. And apparently with her ex-husband as well. So it was one of those things that, I thought I had something with somebody, and it was total opposite. And it was heartbreaking. And as for the allegations, a lot of the charges, some were dropped. I was charged with aggravated kidnapping. That wasn't the case. Aggravated burglary, but that was changed because I lived in that home. So that was the only, well, no, take that back. Later on, I fixed her something to eat. We were sitting on the couch. She had her feet in my lap. God, this is embarrassing to say. She ended up using her feet in a sexual manner on me to the point of ejaculation. And that was only 2 times that happened in that night.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let's move on a little bit.
Okay.
When you kicked in that door, did you spray them with mace?
No.
First went in the bedroom.
I don't believe so, but
What about, did you use your knife stick?
wait, repeat that part about the nightstick. You kind of cut out
Did
in
you-
the first.
Knife stick to beat Mr. Kevin with?
I think I hit him with something on his arm. That's the only time I used something, when he did something. I hit his arm, and I think that's what broke his arm.
And you did clean up the house, wash the clothes, fix the door, and try to pick up some of the stuff that was broken, correct?
I didn't wash clothes, but I did pick up all the debris. Yes.
So there was a pretty good little skirmish that went on in that
It
the
was.
house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Looking at law enforcement, you have the judge didn't make a comment. The district attorney is opposed. The sheriff is opposed. The family, your brother is unopposed. And the victim will make a statement later, the victim's daughter. Was there a no contact order in place?
No, sir. At the time that this happened?
Yes.
Oh, no, sir.
Okay.
And can I say too that there was a comment made, I believe, that was put in the Lafayette paper about I was a former boyfriend. We were never engaged to be married. And I have a deposition from one of her exes that she was having sex with that said, no, absolutely, they were engaged. She said I was getting undressed in their bathroom, about to have sex with her. And she said, hey, look, I just got engaged, and showed them the ring. So there was no contact order, or I wasn't a former boyfriend. I'm not trying to put blame on anybody else. I have enough blame to share for everyone in this room. There's a lot of things from depositions that you may or may not have, I don't know, but that the police report doesn't show. So I understand I'm the one at fault. But at the same time, there was a lot of things that were said that didn't actually happen. And even the detective that was over the case, you know, she started taking my side towards the end, and she realized, she said, man, there's a lot of things wrong with this case that I'm starting to see. She said, I thought you were lying in the beginning. She said, but I'm starting to believe you now. You know, and to the point of she was in a bond hearing with me, rubbing my shoulders when I was crying because they wouldn't reduce my bond. And I came in here not wanting to even say that. That's because that's not why I'm here. I'm here to just, my record shows I try to do as best as I can. I stayed here these 19 years and no write-ups, you know, but trust me, believe me, when I say I'm sorry, I am sorry. If I could take it back, I would. I mean, I can't. There's nothing else I can do except move on and try to do better. But
Okay. Let me ask you this, I've seen you taking some classes.
yes, sir.
You took living in balance, 1 and 2. You had a drinking
That's right.
problem back then?
No, sir.
I mean,
No, just taking classes to better myself for the possibility of getting out.
Okay, and, you've taken all of your sex offender treatment?
Yes, sir. 1 through 4.
What did you learn from sex offender treatment?
Ooh. There's a lot going on in a relationship or just having sex that you need to be aware of, and you know, if things look questionable, just stop and don't push the issue. You know, I think it's I've said things in the last. I was kind of glad when I saw Ms. Wise was going to be here again, because on the first time when I came up, you had asked me some questions, and in those 2 years that I've been here to think about it, and the CADFs over M formula they give, I think D is developmentally delayed or impaired, and within the last 2 years, I realized, you know, yeah, that does put me at fault, because she wasn't in a state to even learn. And it's unfortunate to have to admit that, but it's true. You know, I can't change it though. You know, it's
How long were you in law enforcement?
I got arrested when I was 28, on and off since I was 18. It was just not enough money for me. I'd go back to oil field work or make money, and I'd go back into law enforcement. Wasn't an issue with being a law enforcement officer, it was just money for me. I had too many hobbies.
Okay, okay, see your estate, all that's in here. What's your transition plan? Where you gonna live?
When I get out, I will probably live with my mom. She's having some very serious memory issues now. I think she has Alzheimer's, and so she's eager for me to go back and live with her. And from there, I'll probably work for my cousins at the sugarcane farm. It's about 3 miles down the road from my house, so it's a short commute. I can go back and forth there easily.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay. Mr. Boucher? No. I have a few questions. Sir, what did you learn in victim awareness that you didn't know?
That there's more than one victim. That's something that I've struggled with for 19 years. You know, it's not only the victims, it's their friends and family, my friends and family, the state even. You know, there's a lot of people that were involved, the police department, people that didn't have a hand in it that suffered from it, you know, and it's because of me. You know, it's because of my choices that I made that night. And that's something that I literally, if I wish you could see inside my brain to see how many nights I laid there and thought, I can't believe I allowed myself to do that and to hurt so many people in the process. That's one thing
Okay.
I know from that class for sure.
Good, good. Now, there was a statement that said that during the court process, threatened to behead the victim's family. Do you remember saying that?
No, ma'am, I do not remember saying that at all.
And you did, the other question I had was your relationship, but you've already cleared it up about the fiancé and all that. So
Yeah.
you all were actually living at the same place when this happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because in the police report, all of her statements were my ex-boyfriend, my
Right.
ex-boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend.
That's
And
right.
that was concerning because you called her fiance and y'all very much in a
That's right.
committed relationship.
That's right.
She's a little older than you, right?
3 years, yes, ma'am.
Yes, she's older than you, okay. And so now your job, you're a barber now in the prison. Is that your job now?
No, I'm an orderly. No, not a barber. That's on the paperwork, but no, ma'am. I just clean up the building I live in. Yes, ma'am.
That's the way the jobs are classified by the prison enterprise incentive wage. They're barbers, orderlies, they're all listed together, Ms. Wise.
Okay, thank you okay, thank you. And then you also took a class called Nonviolent Conflict Resolution. Tell me what you learned in that one.
Yes. It just gives you a way to really stop and think, learn to take time, take a breath, count to 10, decide if it's worth losing what you have over, the issue that's in front of you. And trust me, I've used it here quite a few times.
Yeah, the disciplinary record proves that out. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
No, we're not.
Okay. Warden, is there anything you want to tell us at this time?
Well, the record speaks for itself. Ms. Wise, Jude's been here since 2005. I would refer you to the comments Colonel Tolliver made in his work evaluation. He got a really good work evaluation. He participated in every program that's been available to him. He has lived in the protective custody unit, so he was somewhat limited in some of the programming he could take, but every time a program became available, he took it and successfully completed them. He's got a remarkable institutional record. He's had that one low court write-up in the 18 years he's been here, and I think that was like 2000. That was early into his incarceration. So he hasn't been an issue or a problem at this institution whatsoever during the 18 years he's been here. That's why.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, we're going to hear from your supporters. Glenn Burnett, Mr. Glenn, what would you like us to know?
Muted.
You're muted, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I've known Jude for many years, and I can tell you that I believe I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I can tell you Jude's character is remarkable. He's a good guy. He wants to do right. He had a very misfortunate incident that occurred in his past, but he's still the kind of guy that wants to do the right thing. He's the guy that follows the rules. And if he needs, I'm a self-employed. I have a successful small business, and if need be, I'd put him to work. I'd let him live in my home. And I can't say enough about this man's character, and there need to be more men like him. Excluded that one incident, he's led a really, really good life. Even where he's at and the contact I've had with him there, we stay in touch, and he's just, he's a joy to talk to be around. And I really pray that y'all going to see that in the conversations you've had with him and the paperwork in front of you, and that you would give this man another chance. He's about a year and a half from getting out full time, and to get out early, like he said, his mother is not doing well, and he wants to go home and try to be there for her and, be a good son. He's a great brother. I've talked to his brother a couple of times, And I know to me, he's a really good friend, and I can't say enough about him. And I'm just going to be brief, and I'll just end it at that. He's just a good guy, and his character is remarkable.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your comments.
Thank
And your
you.
wife was nodding, so she confirmed.
Yes, she did.
Yes, I do. All right, thank you. At this
Right.
time, we'll hear from Ms. Madison in opposition. Ms. Madison, would you unmute and tell us what you want us to know?
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for asking.
Good. So during this whole hearing, just seeing Jude's face, him laughing and smiling, it just brought back a lot of emotions. I have been thinking of this day for 18 years. My mother is especially traumatized from this. She could not attend today. And my mother did, in fact, break the engagement off with him, and she did start seeing her ex. And he did, in fact, state that he would behead my whole family during the court hearing. We have had many treatments regarding this incident. I am in and out of therapy, as well as my mom. She cannot keep a stable job. She is physically and emotionally traumatized and will be for the rest of her life. I now have 2 children, and I feel fear for our lives once he gets out. I cannot forgive him, and it's not because of hate. I pray for Jude every single day. But at this time, I cannot see him being free. I cannot fathom the fact that he would be able to be released.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. And I appreciate you being here. Appreciate all
Thank
the
you.
courage. You take care of yourself. All right, Mr. Jude, what do you want us to know?
I'm certain that there was no breaking off of an engagement at all. In fact, to go back, when I left at 9 o'clock that night, I drove my truck around to the front of the house. And when I got in front, there was something still outside, so I went to bring it in. And when I walked in, she was standing in the living room looking at the ring on her hand. And I said to her, you know, this can never happen.
But they want you to make your final statement. This is
Oh,
what
okay,
they're
okay.
talking about. You
Well-
went off into something that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to make Final comment.
Well, I mean, I hate that Madison feels that way. I hate that her family feels that way. If I could change it, like I said before, I would, but I can't. But staying in prison for 1 year and 3 months more isn't going to make a difference in what's happened. I mean, I can't change that. I mean, if that's what you guys feel I need, if that's what the family feels I need, then so be it. But I mean, that's not what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that because of my record, because of what you've seen with your own eyes, that you do agree to release me. Because I can promise you this will never happen again. I can promise I will never go around that family again. I live 30 miles from where they were living. I don't know where they live now. If you want me to live in North Louisiana, I can stay here. It doesn't matter. I'll relocate. You know, I can visit my mom. I don't have to live with her. I mean, I want to be there for her, but I want to be out so I can work and provide. You know, that's the main thing for me. And, you know, like I said, I mean, I know it probably seems like a lot of time for them, but 1 year and 3 months isn't much. I mean, it's not like it's going to be that big of a deal to let me out that, you know, that little bit of time early. It just helps me out to be able to provide for my mom. That's the main thing. I know she's not going to a doctor like she needs to go, and it's about money, and it's unfortunate. And again, my heart goes out to him. I've done everything I can to be better, and you know, to put this behind me, to move forward. And it breaks my heart to hear that about them. And I hope one day that they can truly forgive me and move on. And that's really all I can say, because it's just an unfortunate issue in my life that I caused, and I'm sorry about that. And I just hope that you guys see that I am doing what needs to be done. And I can promise you, if you agree to this, it will not happen again. And I just want to get out and be able to provide for my family. That's all.
Thank you for your comments.
And if moving is a possibility and that they're okay with that, that's fine. I'll move.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Panel ready to vote?
I didn't get an executive session.
We have a motion for executive session. Can I get a second?
I second.
Roll call, please. Yes.
Yes.
The panel is back in session. It's 12:41. And the panel is ready to vote. Mr. Freeman.
First off, I want to thank the victim's daughter for coming here today and speaking to us. I know it is tough. Ms. Judice, you have done very well in prison. Like you say, we'll get out next year no matter what we do today. And I feel that you need to go on and do the other year and 2 months, so my vote is to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Roche.
Mr. Judice, based upon a violent sexual nature of the offense, express opposition from the DA's office and law enforcement, and in proximity of your vote date, my vote is to deny your request.
At this point, so you have 2 votes to deny. I concur with my colleagues today, and the victim opposition, they need that time to prepare for being eligible. That you will be released, but you be on supervision. And for the reasons already been stated on the record, my vote is deny as well. That's what you.
You know, this guy really thinks, and he thinks he can just manipulate his way through anything. It's almost like you're watching it and you're saying, what am I listening to? You just spent nearly 20 years in prison for the crime that you committed against her, and he's making it out to be like he did nothing wrong. That it's all just some big misunderstanding. You sit here and it's like, what? He's like gaslighting the entire audience. And it doesn't stop. He literally says that he starts talking about how she's sitting on his lap and she's giving him a footsie. What is that? He wants everyone to believe that he was engaged to her. She went out with the girls. He went out with the boys. The guy's like, hey, I got to go to work. So, either you have to wait. Oh, no, don't worry. I don't want to wake up early. I'll go back to my fiance. He gets there. There's a car. There's a truck in the driveway. He calls. He has his dispatcher check it out. Like, nothing sketchy going on there. Dispatcher says, oh, it's a truck from the oil fields. Well, he's nervous, right? Why is there someone here from the oil field? So he goes and looks out through the window. He's on top of her. So he's going to be a hero now, right? He's going to smash through the door. And when he gets there, he then says 3 times to the guy to back off. And then everything's a blur. Everything's a blur. She's beaten to the pulp. Then he disappears, right? This oil field guy who's been with her for 10 years. And you have to say, what is going on here? And the only rational thing that I can think of is that guy probably was in fear for his life, because who is he going to call? The guy who's attacking him is a cop in this tiny little town in Louisiana somewhere. You don't think that he did call the police? You don't think that he called the police and said something is up? Do you not smell rot? I can smell the rot from 20 years later. I smell the rot. The corruption. It's plain for all to see. You don't think he had a broken arm. From what we know of, Pete brought it up. Well, did you use mace? Did you use your police baton? When he went to the hospital, you don't think he said what happened? But no, we don't hear from the police for over 24 hours later. Who knows what he's doing to her all that time in that house? Oh no, they just started to talk and he was crying and he cleaned up and then they made out and then she gave him a footsie. The guy's nuts. And I think it's the classic example of definitely narcissists. He's just completely unaware of how people perceive him, and he thinks he can fool everyone. Maybe he can fool those two nut jobs in the bottom right corner. What were the words that he said? It's the strangest thing, but these roaches, these despicable monsters, they tend to have someone in their corner that is hook, line, and sinker, gaslit, drinking the Kool-Aid, thinking that the guy's the next Messiah. I mean, we see it over and over. The words they use to describe him, they're not even blood relatives. I can't say enough about his character. Need more men like him. His character is remarkable. He's sitting in prison for what he did to his ex-fiancée. You know, it was perfect timing. The second this idiot finished speaking, then you had the victim's daughter come on, and she says, you know, it always, the contrast is always so clear when you have the victim survivors that come on to speak right after the cuckoo nests over there. And I have been thinking of this day for 18 years, she says. Her mom is too afraid to be here. He threatened their lives. She is afraid for her children. And she doesn't hate him. She prays for him. But she's in fear of him. And I would say rightfully so. I would be terrified. The guy is dangerous. And he seems to have what they call protexia. I mean, he ended up getting 20 years, but let's not forget, he tells the board, oh, the charges, it was all dropped. No, they weren't dropped. They weren't dropped. He took a plea deal. Dropped. This is what he was charged with. Attempted second degree and attempted first degree. You don't get those charges unless what he did was violent, was brutal, unless aggravated sexual assault, aggravated kidnapping. This is what he was charged with. And they weren't dropped. He pled nolo contender, no contest. To the lesser included offenses of forcible and aggravated battery. Petitioner was sentenced to 20 years at hard labor, 15 years probation following his eventual release. You know, to get even 20 years for this, you know it was bad. You know. And you find out. But look at everything he was charged with, right? So he pled no contest to these two charges, and they dropped those other charges. But they didn't drop it because they didn't think they had a case. It's called a plea deal. That's really all the info we have on this. He filed an appeal. He said ineffective counsel. Meanwhile, he's been spending a year in private in protective custody. He starts to change his mind. And then you find out, what was it? He was with 5 different police departments before this. Do you need, how many red flags do you need to keep getting another job? 5 different police departments? No, the first red flag, okay, I get it. The second, but the third, the fourth, the fifth, something. And what was his reason? I kept getting bored. And I think it was the first hearing. Was it Mr. O'Shea? Like, that's not why you are. First of all, that doesn't even make sense. He obviously was, in my opinion, we don't have proof. In my opinion, to go to 5 police departments, something is going on. It would be the same thing with any job if you kept switching, keeping the same role but switching. Something's off. And he was young. Remember this. It wasn't like he had 5 different. He was 20. What was he? 20. 26, I think, or 27 or 28. When this happened, he was young. How do you even get 5 jobs in that short period of time? You're literally in and out of the job before you can even finish your first year. Thank goodness Mr. O'Shea denied this time. It's interesting. Again, why he didn't last time, maybe because no victim spoke, maybe because he knew he was getting denied anyways. They do that sometimes. The parole board sometimes wants to give a little bit of a gesture of kind of goodwill, if you will say, so they say. And he's still locked up. Remember, so the first hearing was 8/8/2021, and the second was 5/22/23. So he's got like a good another year. Trying to think what else I missed that I want to bring up. But again, it's the importance of the DA showing up for these type of cases. DA's got to show up. Are you kidding me? I mean, I think what was particularly spectacular and upsetting about this case is that no one on the board challenged him. You needed like a Miss Jackson to just call him out in this one. You needed someone to say, you're locked up for what you did to her, and you keep making up stories. He needs to be, it makes difference to be put in the corner and held accountable and admit what you've done. He never admitted what he did. He still to this day is stating, and he believes that he was engaged to her. He showed up and thought that there was a stranger in the house. He was trying to get rid of him. Next thing he knew it, she had gotten in between them, and that's how she got really hurt. And was poor him. He had no idea, but she was with this guy for 10 years. And she was with someone else, and poor him. And it was never like a moment of interest. Like, no, dude, that's just not what happened. I don't know. I just had a phone call come in, and I had to pause it, and I lost some of my steam. So I think what I was saying was how no one held him accountable in either of these hearings. No one is shaking him, so to speak, and saying, you need to hold yourself accountable for what you have done. I mean, Mr. O'Shea kind of at the end said, due to the nature of your crime, but at no point did they say, you're just not holding yourself responsible. He's dragging her through the mud at every chance he can get. It was her. She was having relationships behind my back. I had no idea. She threw herself between us. She did this. I was like, no, dude. But he's going to get out, and he's going to get out and surrounding himself by people who think that his character is remarkable, that the world needs more people like him, that he couldn't say enough about his character. He's going to believe that he was wronged. And someone who is that nuts in the head, who already has proven that he can do what he can, that's a dangerous man, in my opinion, to be set free. But I guess lucky for him, he never had, he didn't have 3 possession with intent to distribute charges in 10 years, or he'd be locked away for life. There's Louisiana for you. With that, I'll let you go. And if I didn't say it already, thank you, Richard.